Now, upon entering a boss's domain, gamers accept that there's a good chance that they're not going to walk out of there alive. If the player doesn't have enough health potions, didn't equip the appropriate armor, or just can't work out the enemy's weak point, you're going to be seeing the game over screen pretty bloody quickly. And sometimes it can just be a case of you're just not ready for this boss battle. It came out of nowhere and has now trounced you thoroughly. So let's have a chat about them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game bosses nobody was ready for. Number 10, the Antlion, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Game Gear version. Now, everyone who's picked up the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 should remember how much trouble they had battling the Antlion. As Sonic whizzes through the last area of Underground Act 3, Dr. Robotnik picks up his speedy arch nemesis and chucks him on a slope, with the Antlion nesting on the bottom right. As Robotnik drops bouncing bombs from the left side of the screen, the blue-furred hedgehog has to dodge them, causing the explosives to fall into the insect's mouth. Although this bout is tough on the Master System, it's dramatically harder on the Game Gear, since the condensed screen makes it near impossible to see the bombs until the very last moment. Because the bombs in the Game Gear version bounce at random intervals, Sonic only has a second to gauge just how to get out of their way. Also, there's no rings available in this section, so Sonic will die after receiving a single hit. And what makes this battle even more unfair is the fact that the Antlion is the first boss. Because of this, some players never manage to get past the first level. Number 9, Chameleos, Monster Hunter Rise. Debuting in Monster Hunter 2, Chameleos returned in the most recent outing, Monster Hunter Rise. Although it's usually refreshing to see an old enemy, nobody was cheering when this overgrown lizard made his comeback, since he was a pain in the ass in Hunter 2. But somehow the ruthless reptile is even more frustrating this time around. Chameleos moves quickly and erratically, making him difficult to track and strike. Because Chameleos can poison the hunter's team, cancel abilities, steal items, spew a fatigue-inducing gas, and disperse a visibility-hindering fog, fighting this elder dragon from Wish.com is unbloody bearable. And let's not forget, he's a chameleon, so you know what that means? He can change colours, rendering himself invisible. As a result, the hunters are destined to spend half of the battle hacking and swinging at thin air, oblivious that Chameleos is just on the other side of the arena. Although his cloaking abilities can be hindered if his horn is cut off, it barely helps. Because of the scaly beast's diverse attacks, beating him by chance is virtually impossible. Unless the hunters are well equipped and have effective strategy in mind, Chameleos will prevail. Number 8, Duo, Mega Man Battle Network 4. The Mega Man series has some of the most agonizing bosses in gaming history. Dr. Wily, Sigma, Yellow Devil. However, none of these villains can compete with Duo, the final boss of Mega Man Battle Network 4. The problem with facing this monstrous program is he's only vulnerable while standing still. As an added complication, he attacks every time he's stationary. This means that Mega Man can only hit Duo while this galactic android is unleashing a barrage of lasers and bombs. And since Duo remains motionless for only a second, the window of opportunity is very brief. But it gets worse. If Mega Man misses, which happens a lot, he can't use another battle chip until the next turn. Although the blue bomber can still use his Mega Buster, it's laughably ineffective against Duo. So if Mega Man misses, well, he's going to be a sitting duck for the next 10 to 20 seconds. But you know what? It gets worse again. You see, our robotic hero has finite amounts of battle chips per fight. Once he runs out, which is very likely during this scrap, Mega will have nothing to defend himself with, save for his crappy Mega Buster. When this happens, the chances of triumphing over Duo, well, it's virtually non-existent. Number 7, Lady Butterfly, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Now, Lady Butterfly is by no means the hardest boss in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. However, she fits the bill of a gatekeeper, since she presents a pretty big difficulty spike. Up until this point, gamers can get by without mastering the combat system, but if the player isn't proficient in fighting, deflecting, and dodging as they approach Butterfly, well, their playthrough is going to grind to a halt. The elderly warrior is immune to some of Wolf's techniques, forcing the shinobi to use a more varied set of moves. If these attacks haven't been perfected, well, the heroic ninja will pay with his life. And just when it feels like the brawl is drawing to a close, Butterfly initiates the second phase, where she'll conjure an array of enemies. If Wolf doesn't slay every one of them, they'll eventually transform into homing projectiles. While the player does their best to dodge these enemies and incoming weapons, Butterfly keeps charging at Wolf with relentless determination and vigor. Butterfly may be an optional boss, but she's definitely worth fighting, since she teaches gamers all the basic techniques that are needed to stand a chance against later foes. Number 6, Thanos, Marvel's Superheroes. In Marvel's Superheroes' main campaign, the player must battle 7 combatants before squaring off with Thanos. Throughout the story mode, the player unlocks Infinity Gems, which briefly gives them enhanced abilities, such as boosted speed, strength, durability, and healing. Because you should have 5 gems by the time you reach Thanos, you should be quite confident at besting the Mad Titan. But just as the fight commences, Thanos steals all of your gems, placing his power level on par with a god. And because the prune-faced dictator is armed with the Infinity Gauntlet, his gems abilities are amplified multiplied exponentially. By activating one of these godlike gems, Thanos can steal health, reverse the controls, or unleash a fireball bigger than the Hulk. Although it takes a while before a regular combatant can pull off an infinity attack, Thanos' infinity bar fills much faster, allowing him to unleash devastating moves every few seconds. What's worse is Thanos doesn't need the gems. If he didn't use his gauntlet, the alien demagogue is still an absolute arse to fight due to his incessant blocking, overpowered attacks, and combo-breaking specials. Wicked. Number 5. Azazel, Tekken 6. Now, Tekken 5's final boss, Jinpachi, is regarded as one of the cheapest bosses in all of fighting games. Because he was received so negatively by the gaming community, fans of the series hoped that Namco wouldn't make the same mistake twice while designing Tekken 6's antagonist Azazel, but somehow the developers crafted an adversary that is cheaper than bloody Jinpachi. Firstly, this crystallized demon is bigger than the screen. Now, to be fair, Azazel's immense size makes them an easy target, but unfortunately this works both ways, since the vile beast can hit his opponent from anywhere on the battlefield due to their astounding reach. While standing, Azazel's durability is through the roof. As such, it's imperative to knock the gargoyle off their feet and juggle them in the air for as long as possible. If you haven't mastered juggling yet, well, it was nice knowing you. Then there's the infernal stalagmite move. Throughout the battle, Azazel repeatedly summons crystal pillars from the ground. Not only is this move difficult to predict, it launches his opponent, setting Azazel up for another merciless combo. After seeing the game over screen for like the 20th time or so, Tekken fans will probably start to miss Jinpachi. Number 4. Odeur, Thymesia. Now, Thymesia let gamers know that they were in for a world of hurt as soon as it booted itself up. After an hour into the playthrough, our protagonist, Corvus, first encounters Odeur. The nefarious ringleader is incredibly strong and utilizes various elemental attacks which are pretty difficult to avoid and block. Due to his blinding speed, he can close the gap between himself and Corvus in an instant. As such, our hero is always a moment away from being skewered, no matter how far away he was prior. Now, Odeur isn't just challenging, despite being the opening enemy, he's the hardest boss in the bloody game. He's tougher than the final boss. Hell, he's harder than the powered up version of Odeur that Corvus fights later. Because the player has only just started at this point, they'll barely be able to understand the controls or mechanics before contending against this charismatic tyrant. When he finally falls, gamers will breathe a huge sigh of relief, well, until the devilish circus owner jumps up and kicks off the second phase of the battle. This means that Corvus has to fight a faster, stronger version all over again. Good luck. Number 3. Ludwig the Accursed, Bloodborne the Old Hunters. Now, coming face to face with Ludwig the Accursed is amongst the most memorable moments in Bloodborne's DLC, The Old Hunters. Too bad that it's for all the wrong reasons. You see, his disproportionate shape makes it difficult to predict at what angle this bestial deformity will come at the hunter. Due to his high damage output and complex moveset, it's a major challenge to get the upper hand. And that's not even mentioning the second phase. Once he obtains the Moonlight Sword, this boss, now calling himself Ludwig the Holy Blade, becomes a force to be reckoned with. His attacks become more aggressive and tougher to dodge due to the reach of his newfound weapon. Serrated weapons no longer cause bonus damage, and his defense is double, allowing Ludwig to shuffle off the hunter's most powerful strikes. He also has a nifty plunging attack that can kill the hunter instantly. Because of this, it's wise to stagger Ludwig just as he readies his assault. It goes without saying that striking Ludwig at the right time requires astounding precision, and if the player mistimes their opening or gets the angle wrong, well, they're done for. Number 2. Nick's Avatar, Persona 3. Now, gamers should be well acquainted with multi-phase boss battles. Final Fantasy and Mega Man players expect the final boss to go at least, I don't know, like 5 or 6 stages before it's finally over. However, nobody implements this multi-phase strategy to a higher degree than Persona 3's antagonist, Nick's Avatar. Becoming the embodiment of death, it's no surprise that this entity is rather hard to kill. But to put Nyx down for good, our hero must endure not 1, not 2, not 10, but a whopping 14 phases. Anytime the good guys think that they've beaten her, Nyx announces, "Now behold my true form," like she's a bloody Dragon Ball Z character. What's worse is Nyx's tactics cause this already bum-numbing brawl to drag out even longer. She can attack at least twice per turn, is heavily resistant to critical attacks, and is immune to all out attacks. Since Nyx's strengths and weaknesses change during each phase, scans have to be performed on her all the time to know what she's vulnerable to. Since this deathly horror takes about an hour to defeat, it's best to prepare, not just in-game, but in real life. Seriously, go to the bathroom and grab a sandwich, because this showdown will take a while. And number 1, Gleeok, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Although Gleeok wasn't particularly challenging in the original Legend of Zelda, the three-headed dragon has returned with a vengeance in Tears of the Kingdom. Because Gleeok is often in the air, Link needs to blast each head with an arrow in rapid succession to cause the Ghidorah-inspired beast to fall to the ground. Only then can the Hero of Time deal serious damage. And this is easier said than done, since Gleeok can shoot projectile blasts in 3 directions at once, which is mind-bogglingly difficult to dodge. If the triple threat serpent flaps his wings, he creates a gale that can cast Link out of the arena, ending the battle there and then. The key to staying alive while fighting Gleeok Gleeok is to be suitably equipped. Whether Link is facing a fire, ice, or thunder Gleeok, our silent protagonist can withstand heavy damage if he's wearing the appropriate armor. This strategy goes out of the window with King Gleeok though, since this wicked wyvern shoots fire, ice, and lightning simultaneously. Although it's imperative to wear sturdy armor, elemental resistant equipment won't help against this towering foe. Even if Link is armed with fully upgraded weapons and armor, no amount of preparation or skill can secure victory against this merciless titan. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video game bosses nobody was ready for. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Instagram and AX, where it's at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you over there, and I hope you're taking care of yourself, my friends. Speak to you soon. Love you all. Bye.